This is a production of the AJ Podcast Network.
Pushing and pulling, I want you, but you won't leave. I hate you, I love you, you love me, yeah, you gotta be. If I'm your cage, leave. But if you stay with me, eventually we'll find happy.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens. This is another show of the Passage Home podcast starring the amazing Dr. Stanley Russian. But before we bring Dr. Stanley Russian on, we want to go ahead and start off with an announcement from the engineers. So, Mr. AJ, you have an announcement for us today?
Yes, sir. Bax, my co-host to my podcast. I can relate to that. Bax, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Dr. Stanley Russian, Bax. So, I do diligently work behind the scenes to get your podcast produced and onto the air. And we got another platform I want to share with you guys. You guys ready for this? You guys are now on Alexa.
Oh,
Alexa.
that's awesome.
All right. Now, I'm going to take it a step further here. Okay. Let me cut your theme song off. I have my Alexa sitting here right now, and we're going to do a live demonstration. Let's give it a try. You guys interested?
Let's go.
All right. Here we go. Alexa, please play Passage Home Podcast from iHeartRadio from the beginning.
Playing the latest episode. E7 Yehuda went to Africa and found his natural family.
And there you go. Another platform for you guys.
That's awesome, man. Passage Home is just moving right along. And while we are at it, man, if you guys want to go ahead and subscribe, like, and share our podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Alexa now,
iHeartRadio.
A few other.
Yep. So you're on YouTube, Podbean, Apple, iHeartRadio, Castbox, Google Podcasts, and Alexa. So you guys are growing and you're doing great.
Definitely. We definitely want to thank the engineer over at the AJ Podcast Network. We definitely appreciate you over here at Passage Home and our other podcasts that we have together. I can relate to that. Now, Dr. Stanley Russian, who is going to be the amazing guest that we have on the show today?
I must say that I am humbled the fact that I am interviewing this brother. All the way back to 1967, if you can imagine that, this brother has been a leader in a lot of different fields. And so the fact that, like I said, I'm going to say again, I'm humbled to be interviewing this brother today. His name is Rofay Shuriel, and he's going to explain his name in Hebrew when we bring him on. But he's our today's guest. Remember, the theme of what we're talking about is Pan-Africanism and going back. What Africa is calling us right now, and we're getting people warmed up because we are going back, and everything's going in that direction. Without further ado, the Rofay Shuriel into the podcast.
Give him a call.
Yes, sir. Shuriel, are you with us?
Yes, I am. I hear you very well.
Okay. So you waiting in the wings, right? So, brother, I'm really humbled to have you with us today in this Kwanzaa season, which I'm going to bring up, speaking about Africa and the first fruits. One of the things that I admired about you and the people that were around you, 1967 was a special year to me because we went on our first, I think I must have been in the 6th grade, and we went on our first field trip and getting out of the neighborhood for the first time. And we went to see 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Wow.
And in 1967, they predicted exactly what would be going on with the space station and artificial intelligence in the year 2000. And it fascinated me so much that when I went home, I did my math and I said, wow, it's going to be amazing in the year 2000. And I said, I want to enjoy that. I wonder how old I would be. And so when I calculated, I think I would be about 40 something years old in the year. And I said, man, I'm not going to be able to enjoy it because back then, people in their 40s looked old and decrepit. So, and but lo and behold, as the years went by, I took care of my health, got into health, and when in 2000, I was, mountain climbing, traveling, the whole 9 yards. I was ready
Yeah.
for it. Now, the reason why I brought this up is that with all that said and done, which makes this brother a hero to me, that in 1967, this brother, and along with about 14 other brothers and sisters from Chicago, learned fluent Hebrew, how to read and write, and left the United States and moved to Africa, and then sojourned into Israel. And don't let me tell the whole story, but what that did for me is that all throughout my life, I've been around a lot of people talk the talk, but this brother walked the walk. And so I want to introduce you and say your name, give the explanation of your name, and let's get started with this.
Kodem Kov, Kola Kavola Ya Yahuwah. First of all, giving all praises to the Most High. I am extremely humble and grateful for this opportunity to represent something that is and has proven itself to be divine and prophesied and, in fact, come to its fruition for the whole world to take note of. I would like to first, giving all praises, I would like to give all praises due to the fact that I was not there in 1967 on May 14th. I was not. But what validates it and correlates the fact and all of that I'll touch upon is that I did leave exactly 7 years later on May 14th, 1974. And when I arrived, I was immediately, I would say, received, appreciated, and put in charge of opening the first New World Passover or Pesach. And it was an ingathering of our people coming from all over the world to celebrate this great, I call it the Exodus of 1967. I have a book and I have a poem. But going back, I was in Chicago in 1967 searching for truth, searching for who I was. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, Inglewood, right? Which has come to be like I regrettably, one of the murder capitals of the world. And I grew up there, and under my, with my father's absent, etc., like so many, I grew up under my mother and grandmother, and they wished to get me into the highest level of education that I could go. So the first thing they did when I came out of a Catholic grammar school, St. Anselm, they put me in De La Salle High School, where the mayor's son, Mayor Daley's son, was going. And it was beautiful and disturbing at the same time because it was 99% white. It was on 35th right off of State. It was Wabash State in Wabash in Michigan. And what I learned, though, being obedient, was that we weren't as stupid as that I was growing up learning. They was like, if you want to get something done, call for the white man. Okay. No disrespect, but I learned that after excelling in my grades, that that was not the case, and that we were, in spite of not being able to read or write, forbidden, we are geniuses. So I learned that. And that continued to inspire me, but I still didn't really know nothing. I couldn't connect. So I used to go to what is called Jewtown. And I found some Israelite brothers there just sputtering out truth like flamethrowers. And I was like, wow, I didn't hear in church. I grew up in Berea Baptist Church. My grandfather was a Garveyite and a Mason, and great-grandmother, Eastern Star. So I came up with a Catholic, Catholic afterward. I came up with a Baptist background. Okay, so when I'm listening to these brothers spilling out this truth about we the Israelites, we from the Bible and all of that, that captivated me. So I went back, and then finally, making a long story short, I asked my 99-year-old great-grandfather, what is this about? I mean, what you think about me going to Israel? Are we Israelites? And he told me straight no chase. He said, yeah, go to Israel. That's our land. We wrote the book. We the people of the book. And gave me his hat and his blessing. So I, listening to our international ambassador, name was Prince Asiel, right? I had a one-on-one conversation with him, and I actually was critical because I'd heard, reading out of, I think, Jet magazine, that our people were starving over there. And I'm like, starving over there? I thought they went over there for freedom. So I kind of challenged him, and to his credit, he sat down on the floor. We sat down. He said, let me explain to you. And after telling me the truth, he said, but still, if you want to know what's going on in that land, which is Northeast Africa, then you got to get on a plane and go there. Within a month, I was there. So I've been, that was 1974.
You're saying that's Northeast Africa? And,
exactly.
I just want to expound on that because we spoke earlier about the only reason they call that anything different is because they built the Suez Canal.
Which cut out, right.
Was the
right. Come on.
Canal, which made the seventh continent. But before that, that was Africa. And it still
Africa.
is.
It still is Africa.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. When I was in Egypt, right, I came out of the king's chamber, and I looked across the Nile River. And I'm saying, wait a minute. Now, they're trying to tell the lie that Egypt is in Africa, which that was begrudgingly given. But then now they're saying that Israel is over in the Middle East. What is the Middle East? But I said, I stood there, I said, wait a minute. Hank Aaron could hit a home run across the Nile River. So rivers don't separate continents. So it became perfectly clear, but you got to be there. You know what I'm saying? You can't read a newspaper. You have to be there and see. Right? They're landlocked. Israel and Egypt is landlocked. We drove in a car into Egypt, Cairo. So that's just a lie. That's just straight up lie. But you see,
Joseph and Mary walked into Egypt.
Come on. That's exactly right. You didn't really even have to cross the Red Sea to get into Egypt. To get into Israel. You hear what I'm saying? So certain things you got to see for yourself, you know. But arriving in Israel, Dr. Stan, you want me to continue?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes,
arriving in Israel in 1974, I didn't know where I was going. I was following the guidance I had and the challenge that I was given. So I got there, Tel Aviv, arrived, and I asked the cab driver, because I didn't know exactly where. I asked him where the Hebrews are. He was like, Hebrews? I said, look, the black people that, he said, okay, Dimona. So he drove me there. All right. Long story short, after 4 years, I graduated from the School of the Prophets in the field of divine preventive medicine, holistic divine preventive medicine, which led me to, cover 48 years of being a vegan, right? Okay. Short story again, I ended up, after graduating I was interning in what is called the Beit Chaim, which is the House of Life, which I eventually was over. I was the administrative head of the House of Life, where we were able, without access to Dr. Sabi at that time, all due respect, may he rest in peace, we were curing every disease that came our way, which included malaria, elephantiasis, prostate cancer, et cetera, right? Everything, obesity, all of that. But one thing I would like to add, and I want this to go forth to as many as can hear it and share it. Plants talk. Plants have voices and they talk. My daughter was dying in Mitzvah Ramon, about 20 minutes away from the Red Sea where I lived. My daughter was dying. I was frustrated because I had ran out of cures. I ran up on a mountain and I was running out of breath, about to stop. And then suddenly I got this wave of energy. And I was looking around, I could breathe. I felt energized. I had strength. I looked around and I saw this plant, a dusty plant that I later learned was called mullein. And I looked around, I said, wait a minute, did you do this? You have something to do with this? He said, yeah, run up to the top of the mountain and come back. I got something for you. Plants talk. Mullein took me to the eucalyptus. That's a whole book, so I ain't gonna stay on that. During my residence in the Beit Chaim House of Life, I was also made minister of culture, right? I was also in charge of a jewelry factory, the first African Hebrew to run a jewelry factory since King Solomon. Right? A state-of-the-art jewelry factory. So I was running the jewelry factory, the Beit Chaim, and I was a minister of culture. But all of those things came together because in the ministry of culture, I would, how would you say, celebrate any and everybody's birthday with a card. But in order to do the card, I paid attention to their birthday. And by paying attention to their birthday, I could correlate that with the diseases or the sicknesses that they had. For example, Leos could get heart disease, right? Gymnasts could have nervous problems, etc. Aries, a wound to the head. It went on and on and on. Cancer, stomach. So I'm learning celestial science by dealing.
What about Tauruses?
What about Tauruses?
Taurus.
Okay. All right. Let me tell you this. Can you pull a bull by its ears? What I'm saying is short, brother. Taurus has it's one of the most fixed of the 4 fixed signs, right? So Tauruses are stubborn. Tauruses can suffer by refusing to open up to new concepts, new ideas, change, right? They're fixed. They locked in concrete a certain kind of way. As creative as they can be, you wouldn't even ask for a better loyalist. Look at real estate. They call it bulling, right? Bulling. It's the bull. In Ezekiel, the prophecies of Ezekiel, Taurus is a bull, but it's earth. It's an earth element. So trying to take Taurus from the 3rd to the 5th dimension sometimes is difficult, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I can go into that. We can have a whole class on Taurus. Malcolm was a Taurus, right?
Rofay,
Yes, sir.
I would ask you, when you would mention the parts of the body and the medical condition.
Yes.
With the signs.
Yes. Let me align that. I got it. I think that problems would be found with the neck, with the neck and leading the neck across the shoulders, etc. I would align that to Tauruses. I didn't work with too many Tauruses. I was telling you the ones that I was very familiar with. All right. But I would say that they have a strong back. They even tell you in the scriptures, in other words, don't work a Taurus, right, with a mule, because a Taurus will work the mule to death. You know what I'm saying? So there is something in the constitution of Taurus that how would you say, strengthens itself against change. Taurus, okay, look, from a constitutional, I took homeopathy too. From a constitutional level, Taurus is not so much open to like transferring from a meat eater to a vegan. Let's use that as an example, right? Taurus is super strong, but not necessarily easy to make change, except that it deals with some kind of physicality, some kind of rational, make money. They say if it don't make money, it don't make sense. There's probably a Taurian fact. He's the ruler of the second house, which is finance and real estate, right? But again, if we're gonna connect this with Pan-Africanism, right? I would say that Taurus is a very powerful fortress. Aries, take Aries, the fire element, put his head down and charge, right? Taurus is not like that. Taurus stabilizes. They even said that Rome even made the strongest cement, you know? So it's fixed. You build off of Taurus, right? But in terms of their health, I think that a much more, let's say, much more openness to change, you know? You got cardinal signs that come in Aries, you know? Taurus don't necessarily travel the same energy, out of the same energy as Aries. But all of these have changed. The names have changed. That's why I didn't hear Mercury, because I didn't change Mercury. It ain't Mercury. It's obedience to the will of the Most High. That's what it's called now.
So, Rofay, let me open you up a little bit to the audience. And we in the beginning, can you just give I want to say a couple of things. Make a statement about you and your family. You know, you raised your children there in Israel, and you said something to me once that not many people can say. And that was that your daughter's first language is Hebrew. And and in the fact that you as a scholar are proficient in 3 languages, that you'd be hard pressed to find any brother proficient in one. And what are those 3 languages?
Well, the first language, if you really travel with me, my first language is, I would have to say Ebonics, but English, if you will. Second, and if I may just expound upon that, I was part of an experiment when they took me and a group of 9 others from Dimona, the Hebrew Israelite community in Dimona, right, called Judea. They took us, and the purpose was to see if the black mind out of Chicago, etc., some of the ghettos in the city, etc., could even penetrate to learn Hebrew. Further, the experiment, they brought an Egyptian, a black Egyptian, to teach us Hebrew. One of the first things that he said was that our people have lazy tongues. That's very important. Let me tell you the Lord's Prayer. Abino asher bashimaim yitkadashimea ka higia mal kutea ka yeret seret sonka kimo bashimaim king baris elechem kukenu tenglanu ayum slaklanu katao tenu ka shes. You get my meaning? We actually, they invited us to leave. Our ability to comprehend, but also innovate and create on it, it's worth an encyclopedia, my brother. We're the original. We're the original. When they put that language in front of us again, and we reconnect with our ancestors. What?
Are you there, back?
I'm here, man. That's just awesome, man. Like, I'm learning so much as I go. I feel like this is a blessing and a privilege at the same time, because I'm soaking it all in, and it's just so much that I myself, my own issues, like after getting shot and getting shot myself, with all we know that is like, they call that the second brain. I've had some issues that I've reached out to you that you've helped me deal with, but I'm still got some things that I need to learn and some things I need to get straight, some things I need to get right. So I feel like just knowing you brothers, that I'm gonna be good regardless. Just knowing y'all knowledge, I feel like I'm gonna be good regardless.
So
you should hear my children speak Hebrew.
Let's get the other languages out.
The other ones, okay, listen, the other language is celestial. I speak numerology. I speak celestial science. You know what I'm saying? It's not just conducive to being French. You know what I'm saying? Because if you go back, if you use the scriptures, the principle embedded in the scriptures is that at one point we were all able to understand one another, right? It was a language, even if it had different dialects, you could understand one another. The separation of the languages is connected with us having the wrong motive, you understand, to a sin. It was with an arrogance that we're talking about. We're going to go up and take the Most High off his throne, right? So again, I'm not talking religion. I'm talking about being able to go in and decipher. That's the language that I talk. It's called breaking the seals. That's what I do, right? That's my language. I transfer information, ancient information, in applicable terminologies, principles, the essences, busting through the metaphors and allegories and mythicisms, you know, and what they call terra nullius. Have you heard of terra nullius? Terra nullius was used against us by the Romans after the Greeks to say that there's no one there, and there's nothing that they need to respect, right?
Right.
Terra nullius. So what I'm saying is the language I speak is to decipher and really connect with and be an instrument. My name, Makshiriya, Makshiriel, Shabtai, Kumi, all of those connect with being able to speak and, how would you say, educate or share or cause to remember the language of the Most High. I say it, I prayed, I asked for ability to shorten this whole space that separates us, if we are people, and we are, that suffer from a lack of knowledge, right, and are destroyed from a lack of knowledge. Then my prayer is, how can we pick this pace up, right? How can we take just simple words and make them explode into encyclopedias of information and truth? So I said, help me. And I got Milale Chachamim Dai. Milale Chachamim Dai. That means a word to the wise is sufficient. A word to the wise. So we're learning to communicate things that were, and break through proverbs, parables. They asked Yeshua, they said, why do you speak to the people in parables? He said, because the people have ears, but they can't hear. They have eyes, but they can't see. He said, but if they could hear with their heart, then I could heal them. I could give them this information that'll bring them out of the darkness. So that's the language that I speak. That's the third language I speak.
So we're at a point right now. We need to make a final announcement. And you told me, and I told the people, that this is just part one of Rofay Shuriel Ben Israel. Can you explain to them what Rofay means in Hebrew?
Right. Just talking about that. The word Rofay, first of all, if you've heard, and we've heard this, it's called Raphael. The word Tirufa, first of all, is healing medicaments. The word Rofay, it means one who causes others to heal themselves. That's what we did. I ran a preventive holistic clinic, and the whole point is to use you, is to acquaint you with and give you the tools so that you can heal yourself. You shouldn't have to go back to the doctor over and over and over again. Once you find out, then you make the decision, well, this was wrong. And you tell your body, like, not I'm sorry, I'm sorry. No, you say, I need Mr. Air. Mr. Air means that I would do the thing and I would do it right. I would correct it, right? So if you got a bloated colon or whatever it is, you're constipated, you're eating the wrong thing at the wrong time, laying down, going to sleep on it, then Tirufa is the medicament, right? The healing balm of Gilead that helps you to heal yourself and to make the right decisions. Okay, I had too much protein. I can't eat all of this heavy food and whatever and then go lay down on it, right? And then get back up and drink some coffee and then eat another breakfast. You know what I'm saying? Eating the wrong thing at the wrong time. So that's what we do. We teach preventive healing.
You feel like Dr.
Is that
CB
clear?
was like the guru of it, or do you feel like there were some things he didn't know in himself? Because I noticed that as time goes on, there's a lot of healers who don't necessarily agree with everything that Dr. CB said.
And I can understand that. I certainly would not criticize the brother, but let's deal with this from a celestial science perspective. We are in a sense created equal, but in another sense we are not, right? I come here with 6 planets in fire. I hope you hear me. Other people have 5 planets in earth. You know what I'm saying? These are elements we made up out of this. So certain things I burn fast. So I have to put things back in to replace that. So plus locality. I came in. Listen, I learned microbiotics, for example. I took let's say a yogi and a martial artist came looking for me in Chicago from the Philippines, having been born in Japan. This brother, after first anointing me into the Yogi Brotherhood, first of all, he had me eat a handful of raw rice 1,000 times, right? I fasted 117 days. I've done some things with my own body that I would not, how would you say, put that as a criteria for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, yes, to learn everything that Dr. Sabi told us, and then, how would you say, connect with it based on what's available. I lived in the desert. You know what I'm saying? Some of the things that he learned in Honduras was not available, right? So here's where the spirit overrules order. We work with the best that we could get. You know, when we went there and set up what was this was the first, how would you say, introduction to Israel concerning vegan food, vegan lifestyle. We did that, right? But we weren't rich at the time, so we were eating. We learned how to eat greens that they threw away. Even we didn't have no money. We was building at that time. So I agree, but I think that it has to be. I have to align with what is available. You know what I'm saying? What your economics are and what your spiritual and mindset is.
So, hey, Bax, we're closing out.
Oh man,
He's coming back.
Listen, everybody you bring on this show, Dr. Sonny Russian, we gonna need a part 1, 2, and 3 with them because they have so much knowledge and information, and I'm just soaking it up. Like I feel like I'm being downloaded with information that I couldn't find on myself. So this is actually a journey for myself, man. But we encourage all the listeners to go ahead and like, share, subscribe. If you guys find it on your heart, you know what I'm saying, you guys could definitely shoot us a token of your love. You can reach out to us at passagehomepodcast@gmail.com. We thank all the listeners. We thank all the guests. Dr. Stanley, like I said, you are a blessing from the Most High. Every guest that you have on our show is a blessing from the Most High. And we just want to thank you, brother, for coming and gracing us with your story, gracing us with your wisdom, gracing us with your knowledge. I don't know who you got playing next show, Dr. Stanley, but I just want to say thank you for every show that we had thus far. It has been excellent. People are loving it. People are gravitating to the Passage Home podcast. This show will be international. This show will be worldwide, and this show will be the key to unlock some of the locks that are in the African-American mind that holds them back, that holds them down. We will get this game out to the world. We'll get this game out to the youth and to everybody that desires it and needs it. Thank you for listening.
Right. I just want to give a shout out to you, and as we're closing out, to remind our audience that this is your music that's being played as we close out.
Yes, sir. Baxter Billion. Go find me on YouTube. Go find me on Apple. Hit me with a download. Go find me on Spotify. This is my song, Caged, by Baxter Billion and Rhea Zenobia out of Oakland, California. Y'all have a great night. We love y'all. Be blessed.
Yes. Toda Rava,
perfect love.
Bring that cookie here. I'm still hungry. We need counseling, but I'd rather build a.
This is a production of the AJ Podcast Network.